Hello, good evening, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome to Triple N Talk Show. I am Dr. Nik Nikam, your host. This is the COVID 19 world news, COVID pandemic. So, we're going to look at the global picture of a COVID 19 pandemic and focus on the United States, Italy, Brazil, and India. As of June 8, 2020, across the globe, there are almost 2 million people who have been infected with the coronavirus, resulting in more than 408,000 deaths. Interestingly, half of the people have recovered from the coronavirus infection itself. And here is a chart showing the number of new cases detected all across the world. As you can see, the number used to be around 100,000. Now it has climbed up to 125,000 new cases per day. This is something we need to watch in the coming days and weeks. However, the more sobering news is that the daily death counts have gradually come down across the globe, despite the fact there has been an increase in the number of active coronavirus infections, and that may in part be related to the number of new people who are getting tested every day all across the globe. We're going to focus on the United States. As you can see, in the United States, we have almost 2 million people who have tested positive for the coronavirus, with 18,900 new cases per day. It has resulted in more than 112,000 deaths. In the United States, 21 million people have undergone coronavirus testing. This may account for a substantial increase in the number of actively detected cases all across the globe. Brazil has sort of overtaken Russia, and close to 700,000 people have shown evidence of a coronavirus infection. They are almost competing with the United States in terms of new cases, and the total deaths are 36,499. And look at the number of tests that have been done in Brazil, only about 999,000, with a population of 212 million people. We're going to also look at Italy. As you know, Italy was the epicenter of Europe as far as the coronavirus infection was concerned in the early stages, like in March and April. At the present time, Italy has 234,000 plus cases, with a mortality which was 33,900 almost, but the number of deaths have substantially come down in Italy. And similarly, the number of deaths per day have also dramatically dropped in the United States. Next, we're going to look at India, which is climbing quite rapidly with the number of new cases. There have been a total of 7,200 deaths, and even the daily death count is gradually increasing. India has done about 4.6 million tests, and as you know, India has a population of more than 3.79 billion people. Let's move on to the next chart. We're going to look at the United States of America. As I said, United States has more than 2 million people who have tested positive, with 113,007 deaths recorded. More than 770,000 have recovered from the coronavirus infection. And here are the daily new cases in the United States, which has shown a steady decline after reaching a peak somewhere here on April 21st. So there has been a steady decline in the number of new cases, which is now below 20,000 per day. I want you to keep this number in mind, 20,000 new cases per day. If you look at the death, it shows a much better response. As you can see, it reached a peak around the 21st, and it has shown a steady decline to a point where now the death rates are like 300 to 400 or less per day in the United States. If we compare the United States population Europe, with all the countries together, then we can see the mortality in the United States is considerably less compared to the numbers in Europe. Here are the daily new cases. As you know, Italy was the epicenter, where it reached a peak somewhere along March 25th or so, and from then it has shown a pretty significant decline to a point where the number of cases, new cases, is coming down to almost like double digits. Despite the fact they have opened up their economies and they are past the lockdown stage, the graph hasn't significantly increased in Italy, at least. And the same story with the number of deaths in Italy. As you can see, there's been a steady decline here to a point now where it is less than like 100 cases per day. Now let's move on to Brazil, which has become the hot spot in South America. As I said, Brazil has more than close to 700,000 cases with 36,000 deaths. What is more interesting is, as you can look at the graph here, it started around March 16th and it has continuously gone up. It had shown some improvement, but it picked up again. But the most important thing that I wanted to look at is there are like 30,000 new cases per day in the last week or 2 weeks. So it has shown some decline in the last 3 days, and we just have to wait and see if this continues or if there's going to be another uptrend as we have seen in the past several weeks. If you look at the number of deaths in Brazil, which is approximately about 1,500 at the peak, and it has come down in the last 3 to 4 days, also needs to be watched in the coming weeks. Now let's move on to India. The number of corona cases in India is also climbing. It's at 265 plus thousand cases, and this accounts for almost 7,500 deaths. What is different in the Indian graph is that it also started around March 22nd, and about end of March, there was a lockdown of the entire country of 1.38 billion people, and as you can see, the number of cases is continuing to go up steadily. But if you look at the total number of cases per day, it is in the range of 10,000 as compared to what was it like in Brazil, like 30,000 new cases per day. So if you look at the total number of cases per day, some people may question, did the lockdown work? In a sense, you could say yes, because if you look at a population of 1.3 billion people, if there had been no lockdown whatsoever, then we would have seen a spike like this, which could have involved several million people or a few hundred million people. And because of almost 6 to 8 weeks of lockdown in India, you can see the curve is probably flat, just like this one, with the quarantine measures, and what we are seeing is probably a fraction of what we would have seen if there had been no lockdown. The most important point is we want to know where we are in this curve. If we are at the peak here, and are we going to beginning to see the decline, or how long it's going to take for the peak to turn into a plateau like here and then show the decline. That's something that needs to be watched in the coming weeks, and because of this prolonged flattened curve as it looks, it may take a longer time for it to stay in a state of plateau, and much longer time to come down as far as the decline is concerned. Here are the death rates, which are in the range of 300, which is quite different from what we saw in United States and Italy, where the death rates were between 1,500 to 2,000 per day. So the death rates have been substantially lower in India, and that may also be related to the prolonged quarantine of 8 weeks of 1.38 billion people that might have saved a lot of lives. So, ladies and gentlemen, you have been watching Triple N Talk Show. I am Dr. Nik Nikam, and this has been a COVID-19 pandemic world news. We'll see you next time, and please do subscribe to our YouTube channel. Thank you so much.